how much do you
Yeah.
think personal brand matters when you're applying for a new job or for a new role or for a new position, or even if you just want to be a solopreneur or whatever, you just want to do your own thing? How much importance does a personal brand, how much importance there is for a personal brand, no matter what you're doing?
Yeah, I think when you're a solopreneur, there's a lot more that's needed for branding because, you have to, usually you want customers to come to you and you got to have a personal brand for that to happen, right? For them to recognize your work, what your skill level is, what your recommendations are to make sure it's going to be worth their time to reach out to you and ask for your assistance versus personal branding when you're applying for positions and not a solopreneur, but you're an employee at a company. It's still important, but not as important because you should still have a good LinkedIn profile. Maybe you want to blog out there. Maybe you want to advertise your certifications and showcase some of your work when you're an employee. But because that's going to help you get your resume to the top of the stack when it comes to competing against other employees that are other candidates that are also applying. So I think depends on where you are in the ecosystem about what you want to do versus how much a brand, how much effort and energy you want to put in towards your personal brand.
Got it. Okay. So basically, what I understood out of it is, so if you want to be a freelancer, solopreneur, or you just want to do your
Yeah.
own thing, a personal brand is a very much required thing that you need to have.
Yes.
But when it comes to applying for a job, it is not required as such, but it's an added benefit that that takes you to the door, that helps you get farther away from the other candidates who do not actually carry a
That's
personal brand. And
That's right. That's what when you're a solopreneur or you're running your own company, because that's kind of what a solopreneur is. You got to be able to market yourself, right? And so branding is essentially just marketing yourself and being able to figure out how to do that successfully. Companies will recognize who you are and what you do, and then have that inbound leads come towards you. Unless you have also if you're doing outbound sales as a solopreneur, then that's another piece of it. That's not just branding, but that's also doing cold calls and cold emails and things like that, so people recognize who you are. But I think when it comes to branding and marketing and expecting inbound deal flow to come in, that's where the branding comes in. Whereas you're an employee, usually going outbound and applying for positions.
got it. And do you think that having a personal brand for a person who's looking for another job adds on value to the company that he or she would be joining? Like, let's say there is Peter. Peter has got a personal brand. He runs a blog and he's pretty much known into the space. And he's looking for a new job. And now there are two companies, X and Y. So, do you think the company will cash out more if they'll get the guy who has got his own personal brand? If they hired that person, like X
Yeah,
company is looking, yeah.
sure. That's a great question, and I think so. Because if this individual is good at branding themselves, they probably can also do a good job of brand or working with the market. So their role won't be just coming in as a Salesforce developer or an admin. If you want to have that later responsibility, saying, "Hey, Peter, you're doing a great job branding yourself, and you know what it takes to be recognized in the crowded space. We as a company need your intelligence, need to understand where you've been and how you've been able to succeed in personal branding, and talk to our marketing department about how we can also apply those principles that you apply at an individual level to more of a corporate brand perspective." And so, by all means, I think a company would be foolish not to take Peter up on his skill set, not just from a Salesforce technology perspective, but also about how he built a personal brand.
And I think that helps that particular company, whatever the X or Y, whichever the Peter joined, that helps that company attract more of the talent as well. Because if someone who's carrying a personal brand joins a company called like X company, then in that case, more people would be willing to join this X company because they'll be considering that as a good company, I guess.
That's exactly right. Let's say, for example, Peter has 15,000 followers on LinkedIn, right? And Chris has 500 followers on LinkedIn, okay? If Peter posts a position on his company's behalf trying to recruit talent, I think he's going to have a lot more success with his followers versus what Chris is doing, because he doesn't really do anything. He doesn't have a personal brand. He's only got a couple hundred followers and no one really knows who he is. Peter is going to also be a value-added asset to the company for recruiting talent as well. Because Peter's been creating his own blog, he's been creating his own YouTube stations, he's been and so whatever he does, people are listening to what his thoughts are, right? Because he's socializing those. And then they also know that, hey, if Peter is successful and look at what he's done in his career, I want to work with Peter. I want to work for wherever Peter, Peter made a good choice of going to this company. He's not, he's a smart individual and he's made some good choices in his career. I want to be like Peter, so maybe I can also apply to where Peter is working at and he can kind of be a mentor for me or teach me a little bit more about my career along the way.